Howdy guys, it's Joe here, and today I'm going to talk about 4 big tips, or key mistakes I guess you could say, of low-level players in Overwatch. Now of course this is really talking about players that either haven't played the game way too much, or really haven't put in way too much time in trying to get a lot better at the game, or it's just players that just don't happen to know exactly everything what to do, you know. And hopefully this can help you a little bit, or even if you play the game a little bit, hopefully this can give you some extra tips, or at least give you some reminders in your brain of what to do, and just remind you exactly how to improve. Anyways, guys, let's get on to the first mistake that I see very often, and that mistake is a very simple one. The simple fact that a lot of people, a ton of people, simply never use voice chat. Now, this could be the simple problem of you never joining voice chat, or teammates never joining voice chat, but what I see quite often as well is that you're going to see 5 people in your voice chat, and no one's talking. You're not talking, your teammates aren't talking, and that's a really big problem, as Overwatch is such a good game that is so much based off teamwork. You really need teamwork, you need to be talking, you need to be calling out where people are at, or at least call out where your ults are at, how charged up your ult is, or at least say I'm going to go for my ult, or let's go in. At least that much. And you really just need a bit of communication in Overwatch, and a lot of times you're going to be seeing people just not talking. So what I'd say is just try to break the ice. Try to say, hello guys, what are we going to be doing? What's our strategy? Or at least, how do you guys kind of want to play this? Want to go offensive? Want to rush in? Want to take it slow? And it kind of gives people a little thinking in their mind of what they're going to do. And that's what I'd say. Try to use the voice chat and try to get your teammates to use it, as a lot of times people are willing to use it if you just start the conversation first. Now to the second thing, which I really want to say is, don't switch way too often. Now, this might be a thing that you really aren't thinking about way too much. You're thinking, I should switch whenever really the occasion occurs. But the thing is, I see this really often, especially in the lower games, where people are switching all of the time. They go from one character to the next, to the next, to the next, and this normally wouldn't be that, way too bad of a problem, but the big problem about this is that it makes so that you never charge up your ultimate. And since ultimates are so powerful in Overwatch, that's a really big problem. It will make so that your team has one less ultimate really up, and it's really just kind of painful. Now, the thing is, a lot of people don't really think about this. They have about 50% charge on their Mei ultimate, and they're like, I'm just going to lose about 50%. That's okay, and they're going to switch to someone like Junkrat, or switch to like Torbjorn, or some other defense character. But the thing is, if you would have just waited a little bit, waited for the extra 50%, and then gone for your ultimate, well, you gave your team another ultimate, and you only had to wait 50% rest of the time. I'd say just don't switch way too often, especially if you're at like 60-70%. Don't keep switching. And yeah, and as well as that, don't switch way too often, for the fact that a lot of times in games, if you keep switching over and over again, you're going to kind of get confused here on playstyles, and you won't really play to your best of your abilities. So I'd say stay with a few characters. Of course, I do recommend switching sometimes when the time permits, but don't switch all the time. Don't switch like 20 or 30 times in one game. Now to the third thing that I see often that really happens. Don't main 3 offense heroes. Now, often when I'm talking about, who to main, what to play, I always say, try to main at least 1, 2, or 3 characters. And, I feel like that's a really good idea. Main a support, a tank, and either an offense or a defense, as they're both just kind of the DPS in this game. But the thing that I see quite often online is that you see someone maining 3 offense heroes, or, 2 offense and, or I guess 2 attack and a defense hero, which are pretty much 3 DPS heroes. And this happens really often. You're going to be seeing them playing McCree, Soldier 76, and Junkrat, or you see them playing, Mei, which I guess is a little bit different. It's a little bit better, but still, it's kind of offense. As well with that, you're going to be seeing like a Hanzo, and then you see, maybe a Tracer. You just see them playing only attack heroes, or only really DPS heroes. And you don't really want to be doing this yourself. The simple fact is that, a lot of people do this, and it'll make your team cons really not way too great if you only have offense heroes. I've had a lot of games where I'm playing support, I'm playing tank, because I really main those roles, obviously, and I'm playing a game, and maybe I'll get one of the support and one of the tank, and then I'll have 4 offense heroes, or at least 4 DPS heroes, all going in. They all main DPS, and they're going to have 2 or 3 mains, but they're all DPS. And that's a big problem for your team comp. You don't want just DPS on your team, as the enemy team is just going to kind of out-tank you, out-sustain you, push, and win the game. So do try to learn a few different characters. Try to make so your roster is, kind of well diversified, and that'll help you win a lot more games, and as well, that'll just kind of get rid of any headache on your team. And yeah, I'd say learning 3 offense heroes, maybe learn 2 offense heroes, maybe a flanker, and then a sustained damage dealer, and then a tank, or then a support, or something like that. That's the max that I'd say, but do try to learn either tank or support if you are a very good guy with offense. You can even just play someone like Ana, or play someone like Zarya that has a lot of DPS, and there you go. You kind of have a DPS offense mix. Anyways, let's go to the final tip, which is that I see that a lot of people have their sensitivity way too high, and this was myself. For the first, I think, 3 weeks that I played Overwatch, I played with 60 sensitivity, and some people, that might actually not sound like way too much, they play with 60, 70, but once you go down, It is a huge difference. And the big problem about having a huge amount of sensitivity is that it becomes really, really hard to aim when you're playing someone like someone with a sniper rifle. If you're playing someone like a McCree, or even if you're just playing, Anna, it's really hard to get minute detail, and it's hard to move your arm just barely. And as well with that, with my own hand, I was starting to get some weird like carpal tunnel pains. So yeah, that's also a big problem. You really don't have to move your hand way too much. But the thing is, you should probably turn your sensitivity down if it's like 60 or even 40, all the way down to the average of 6 to 8. That's where most high level players play. Now, some high level players even play at like 3 to 4 to 5, but I'd recommend 6 to 8 for most of you. And if you have a mouse with a changeable DPI, go from, 1200 down to 800 or even 600 if you can really move your arm a lot. Now, the thing about this that'll feel awkward is that for the first week or two, your arm is going to feel really weird. You're going to have to move your arm way more from left to right. You won't just move it like half an inch. You're going to have to move it like your entire mouse pad. And you're going to have to move your arm off your mouse pad a little bit more often. But the benefit to this is that you are much more accurate and minute details. And as well with this, you're just a lot better at, covering tracks. You're a lot better at tracking people as well. And I just really recommend this. If you really have a lot of sensitivity, maybe change it up. And this is mostly for PC players, of course. On the console, you do need a little bit different sensitivity, and especially if you're on the console, make sure to change up your sensitivity for different characters. If you're playing someone like Tracer on console, change up your sensitivity. While if you're playing someone, like McCree, maybe change it down a little bit. It really depends on the situation, but I would recommend look at your sensitivity, make sure it's the right thing, and if you don't agree, exactly with how I'd like my own sensitivity, look it up online. Look up some guides and see how other people are also doing it to try to get the perfect sensitivity for you. I do put in some time into getting the right sensitivity, as having a really good aim is super strong in this game. It just makes you a lot better, and it's an FPS game. Of course, you want to be able to aim as well with all the other skills that you want to be able to do in this game. Anyways, those are my 4 key mistakes of low-level Overwatch players that I just see very often, especially when I'm, looking at a Smurf or just, looking at spectating some games with my friends that really aren't, the best in the world. I see them really doing these mistakes quite often, and I hope that these can help you, kind of spot some of your own mistakes. And if you have spotted your own mistake, look at it, fix it, and change yourself up a little bit. Or if you haven't spotted your mistake, maybe just try to tell your friend, try to inform them that there was always some room to improve, and there's always some, simple things you can do to get quite a bit better in a short amount of time. Anyways, though, guys, of course, these are just my own opinions. Take them with a grain of salt. As always, though, like this video if you enjoyed, and have a wonderful day.